Just to start a bit clunky, but maybe say who we are, and then I'll say it's Dyslexia Awareness Week, and we might cut that bit out later, but...
That might be the best bit, you never know.
So I'm Ella Baron, a political cartoonist and comics artist, and I'm working on my first graphic novel.
I am Tom Mclaughlin. I am an illustrator and writer.
We just thought we'd meet and have a chat about kind of our visual storytelling, visual creativity, and also how it interacts with our dyslexia.
I got diagnosed with dyslexia when I was about sort of 10 or 11. At that age, you just kind of want to sort of fit in and almost become invisible. Didn't really talk about it as an adult, just because I was a little bit embarrassed. So I kind of pushed it away and thought, I'm not good at words, I'm not good at reading, therefore the world of words don't really belong with me.
It's the confidence knock as a child that is really difficult. I was writing long stories which I thought everyone could read. All the words were scrambled, all the letters were upside down, and was extremely upset that no one could read them.
But actually, being able to spell, being able to read, it makes no difference in terms of kind of your ability to be creative or tell stories.
I find graphs hard to read, but I've done these graphs that were shapes, these things that are meant to be symbols. You try and make them into an image. It's a visual language. You look at the language in a slightly different way. You can't always draw these ideas, but you can draw the idioms. I thought was an interesting parallel between our work.
I did a kind of flying priests. What was the punchline now? I'll see if I can find it. It'll come back to me. This is the other thing with dyslexia, is your brain completely wanders.
I have the same thing where I can't remember names. As a political cartoonist, that is really challenging because you're meant to label these people and I'm I can see their face pretty clearly, but there's a hole where the word should be.
It's really easy to kind of go, everyone with dyslexia has superpowers. But for a lot of people, it can be a struggle, and it's a daily struggle for me. When a new book comes out, I have to read the book, and you kind of go, well, I wrote it, I should be able to read it, but writing a book is so much easier than reading a book, and I just make a real mistakes, and it's that times where I kind of want to press the button and make it all kind of go away.
Yeah, a lot of that I can identify with. When I'm doing newspaper cartoons and I've been hyper focused on drawing something, I always leave the text to last, and I get to that point and I'm actually can't. I'll file it, and my editors, who are super sweet, will be in these 5 words you made these 6 mistakes, and then these mistakes happen right at the end. Everyone's in a hurry, and I'm I put the date wrong, and you're try not to make yourself feel too bad about it. But it's printed now zillions of times all around in papers, and it's the wrong date. The reasons dyslexics sometimes struggle with spelling, your mind's eye is circling that word, which is why you spell it upside down, back to front, scramble the letters. Rather than thinking of it as a fixed symbol, you think it's an object that you can turn. The ability to have a 3D mental world. I sometimes think that's a bit what you're trying to do with a cartoon. I do find I'm doing that spinning thing of this is the situation and I have to find the one angle that will tell the story or the argument. But I'm always very hesitant to pin these things on dyslexia because you don't know what the version of you without the dyslexia is.
I remember going into schools, talking to kids, saying, who here writes stories? Nobody put their hands up. It's you don't make stories at all. And they went, well, we make these comic strips. And I went, well, these are stories. And they went, but they don't have any words in. It was such a kind of an amazing thing, getting them to realise that pictures are as important as words when it comes to telling stories. It made me kind of accept being dyslexic, to actually sort of talk about it. Yeah, it was a real kind of meaningful moment. I remember the cartoon, Blessings in Disguise. It was a priest flying through the air, blessing in the sky. There we go. Why was that so difficult to remember?